Maybe I'll start this off asking you how you feel in general about artificial intelligence.
I guess I can't think about artificial intelligence without thinking more about the human desire to create artificial intelligence, which I think I appreciate, but I don't share that desire.
Yeah, right.
I have respect for the potential positive impact it could have, even in terms of things like war and peace. It's not something that I have a drive to do myself.
Sure. Yeah. A lot of the people who are making it or involved in some way with making it, they can't stop it. If they stop making the tiny piece that they're making, it doesn't really matter. It's happening all over the place. In the first episode, I made that one longer question. Do you think artificial intelligence is being created, is being designed by us? Or is it a more accurate way to look at it that intelligence, in some sense, evolves like everything? And all of our inner impulses to create things are beyond our control. It's happening through us, effectively. We're just kind of the catalyst for it to evolve.
Well, that's an interesting idea. But it kind of just makes me think of how the mind works and how we often have ideas that we're not actually ready for or comfortable with.
Sure.
And that happens all the time.
All the time, yeah. It's not as if there's a very cohesive plan for what technology overall in society gets developed and what does not, because there are lots of paths that could be advanced faster than others, and just depends on what we want or what we think other people want or the problems that we decide we want to try and solve on a smaller scale. But it has a completely random feel to me. It's not random in that it's responding to a perceived need, but it's not just, let's think about the society we want, and now let's get everyone to work on the technologies that would best suit that. It doesn't even seem to be much of a focus. Advancing science of well-being would give us better ideas about goals for technology.
Would you say that artificial intelligence could help people psychologically?
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that could be its usefulness.
Definitely.
Had that healing potential and the potential to allow people to be comfortable with the creative process or randomness, which is something many people are quite frightened of.
Yeah. In fact, that was something I touched on briefly with Todd about how if you combine that first chatbot, Eliza, with the replica, so you have something that is programmed to do the basic functions of talk therapy of some kind, but also has been your companion in some sense and knows a lot about you. If you combine those two things, that could be really powerful therapeutically.
Yeah.
It makes me think about human beings' tendency to anthropomorphize things and how easy it is to convince us that it has intelligence on an emotional level, or for me anyway, and how I want to give it all the credit, whether it deserves it or not. And just the way that we anthropomorphize anything that we're trying to have an experience with, a relationship with.
We do that with animals all the time.
Right, exactly. It's probably appropriate in a lot of ways because there are a lot of similarities. We're getting into the other side, constructing this mind completely from an emotionless, intellectual processing perspective that will start to approximate or replicate or even surpass the way we think. It's interesting to me to think once AI gets developed enough that it's free to develop itself. In a way, we're kind of already doing that slightly. But once it completely takes the reins, it makes me wonder, what could it possibly want? And what does it mean to want something without feelings? And could you quantify feelings enough to code them? We definitely haven't. What is essential about our emotions that motivates us that you might need to give a program if it's going to choose to do things?
That would be where any fear I have of AI, or the general fear that people have about it, has to do with just that kind of developed free will. That's a terrifying thought, because look what we do with it. We've created all sorts of technology.
They're all double-edged swords.
Yeah, even solar energy. Solar farms are taking over vast spaces of land that are kicking out species who would otherwise inhabit that land.
And the carbon footprint to construct and maintain and replace solar panels is really high.
Exactly. So it's all of this stuff that's a double-edged sword. And I think, unfortunately, in some ways, human beings aren't actually capable of taking the long view.
Yeah, I think you're right. We're definitely not involved to incorporate the long view into our emotional understanding of the world. It doesn't seem to come very naturally to us.
No, I think people absolutely can cultivate thoughtfulness.
Mm-hmm. Right. No, it's the prefrontal cortex that's responsible for a lot of that logical weighing of options to aid decision making. But in some sense, it's not really driving the car at all. I was just reading this book called The Happiness Hypothesis, and he made an analogy that I rather liked, and I had made a similar one. Mine was a bird and a buffalo. A bird sitting on top of a buffalo's back. The bird is talking a lot, but really the buffalo controls where it goes.
Yeah.
At best, the bird can whisper in the buffalo's ear and try and manage it or manipulate it in a sense.
Yeah. But the bird gets free dinner. So.
Right. Yeah. Do think about my own mind in that way, that these impulses I have, I can't just decide to ignore them or to not act on them. I have to kind of manipulate myself into scenarios where I know I can make better decisions. That really is what's interesting about artificial intelligence and any kind of technologies, is the ways that they reflect us, what we are, what we value. It seems to me like we may well be developing really complex and rich minds before we even understand how our own mind works to that same degree. And that may be the tool that helps us understand it. Plenty of cautionary tales in science fiction. Black Mirror is very popular. A lot of people will ask about that when I talk about AI and consciousness upload and all this stuff. Black Mirror, have you never seen it?
I'm not sure if I have.
It's like Twilight Zone, but technology centered. All of the episodes are about technological angst.
Yeah.
And they're all very near future, very possible scenarios. So they seem very possible. More disturbing, for sure. For sure. Technology reflects us, but is it reflecting only the baser parts of ourselves? We don't understand ourselves. What are we going to give to it that it's going to reflect back? And is it going to show us an unrealistic picture of ourselves? And is the picture of ourselves that we see going to influence what we then become in a positive or negative way?
Yeah.
The Black Mirror is this dark reflection of human nature. It's not evil in it of itself, but it can potentially reflect the worst parts back at us. And also, I think it has a double meaning, because that's what you see when you look at a screen that's off. Is like a black mirror. You see a reflection of you, but it's really dim and blurry and distorted.
Yeah.
That's something that I think about a lot. That almost constant back and forth relationship between creating technology to suit our needs, and then that technology changing the things that we need or want.
Yeah.
And then creating technology to suit that new want. This constant progression of that.
That's a very natural process.
Yeah.
I mean, and technology is really just about creating tools of manipulation. And that's a survival instinct, that we share with all other sentient beings. It's not unique to us. But of course, because of our place in the world, all of those other beings are having to adapt to our manipulations.
Yeah. Human nature is a very dualistic struggle between the rational mind and your impulses.
Yeah.
I'm not discouraged by that, because the prefrontal cortex is by far the newest addition to brains. The brain is built one little bulb piece at a time, slowly adding on, but it's built on top of these old legacy systems.
Yeah.
It works as best it can on top of it, but we just need a few more million years, and then we'll be at peace with ourselves.
Well, yeah, and hopefully we get that opportunity.
Yeah. Once technology is advancing itself entirely and we don't even understand how it works, there's no way that natural evolution can even keep up with the ways that we're going to be able to manipulate all manner of reality. And it'll happen so much quicker than millions of years. So now you're having some technological angst.
Well, no, I mean, I'm always having that.
Yeah.
Part of the reason I'm having it is because I see how wide the divide is between what they call the digital divide. And I see how many people don't have the most basic computer skills. That makes me think that it's just that everything is becoming more separated in that way. It's not like this world of technology and AI is taking off and all of these other folks who don't know where the period is on a keyboard are just like dying off. They're still there. Yeah. They're just figuring out how to exist in this world that's largely leaving them behind, but they're still there.
Yeah.
And there are lots of them. But it's also having access to that. I feel like I, on an almost daily basis, have this glimpse of how the other half lives because for the most part, I can afford to keep up as much as I need to.
Yeah.
But there are so many people who can't and don't.
There's definitely a move towards simplicity and ease of use beyond the way it used to be, which makes it at least more accessible to everyone. I think a lot of people are thinking more and more about these user experiences and how to create technology that adapts to the people instead of the people having to adapt to the technology. Though a lot of times I think it's not that something is too complicated for someone to learn. It's not like, they should just be less stubborn. No, they've had a lifetime of doing things a particular way.
Yeah.
The emotional drive that they would need to make that shift isn't there.
Yeah.
So I guess we would need either to accommodate them and make something that they can feel okay with, or make technologies that will help them make a transition.
Or help their kids, because it's more likely that their kids are going to have the interest and the will. And then if they're given access, the opportunity, because their parents or their grandparents may not be able to buy them an iPad.
Yeah.
But if they have access to one at school or at their library, then they don't get left behind.
Yeah.
It's important. I don't think that you can exist in the world today and get a job, for example, without technology. Really, I think it's important that we're more democratic about how we use it, make it available. That's the problem of all of the resources that we're supposed to be sharing. So it's not specific to technology.
That's a good place to stop.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, thanks.
Sure.